The day the sky split. The night over Zorath Prime was supposed to be calm. The Imperial fleet floated above the glittering capital world, their ships arranged in perfect formation like sharp blades guarding a throne. For centuries, the Zorath Empire had ruled the stars without challenge. Their fleets crushed rebellions. Their weapons silenced rivals. No one dared approach their home system uninvited. But that night, the sky tore apart. It began as a faint shimmer near the upper orbit, barely visible against the starfield. At first, the fleet's long-range sensors dismissed it as cosmic interference. But then the shimmer widened. Alarms suddenly screamed across every ship. Red lights flooded the bridges. Officers scrambled to their stations. On the bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Vraxus, Admiral Corran stood frozen, his scaled hands gripping the command rail. "Report!" he barked. "Admiral, space-time distortion forming near the outer defense line," a sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. "It's expanding rapidly. Sir, it's tearing open." Before their eyes, the darkness above Zorath Prime split like glass under pressure. A jagged rift opened, stretching wider and wider until it dwarfed the fleet itself. Strange energy pulses rolled through the system, knocking out communications and causing sensor screens to flicker. "This isn't possible," Corran whispered. "No one has technology to do this." The rift glowed from within, swirling like a storm. Then from its center something emerged. At first it was just a dark outline, a massive object drifting forward. Slowly, it slid through the breach like a predator slipping out of the shadows. When it fully cleared the rift, the entire Imperial fleet fell silent. It was a warship, unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull was blackened and scarred, as if it had survived countless battles. Strange symbols, long eroded, were carved into its surface. The design didn't match any known civilization. No light shone from its structure. It was silent, drifting, almost lifeless. Yet terrifying, the communications officer turned pale. No transmissions. No energy signatures. "It's just there. Identify it," Corran demanded. "Negative match on all databases. It doesn't belong to any Dominion fleet or any known neighbor empire. It's ancient." Panic rippled through the Imperial High Command. Rumors spread like fire. Some believed it was a secret Dominion weapon meant to strike fear. Others whispered of ghost ships from forgotten wars. A few even muttered a name, spoken only in forbidden archives, humans. But those were quickly silenced. Humanity was a myth, wiped from the galaxy centuries ago. Or so they believed. The Emperor himself appeared on the command holo. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed fear. "Admiral Corran, send a scout fleet. Find out what that thing is. And if it's a threat, destroy it." "Yes, Your Majesty," Corran replied, though unease knotted his chest. Minutes later, 12 swift reconnaissance ships broke formation and accelerated toward the dark vessel. Their engines left streaks of blue across the night sky. Fleet officers watched their progress on the main display. Tension filled every bridge. "They're approaching the target," a tactician reported. "Distance 10,000 kilometers. The warship didn't react. No weapons, no shields. It just floated silent as if asleep. 5,000 kilometers, Corran leaned forward. "Open hailing frequencies," Static hissed back. No reply. 2,000 kilometers. Entering visual range now. Then, without warning, every scout ship vanished. No explosion. No debris, just gone. The bridge erupted in chaos. What happened? "Lost contact with all scouts." "Confirming." "Admiral, they're gone. All of them." Corran's throat tightened. "Track their last positions. Scan for warp signatures, energy spikes, anything." "Nothing, sir," the sensor officer whispered. "They just disappeared." The Emperor's voice returned, sharper this time. "Admiral, contain that thing. Do not let it approach the planet. Do you understand?" Corran nodded, though fear gripped him like cold iron. He had seen many wars. He had crushed enemies who thought themselves powerful. But this was different. This wasn't war. This was something unknown. As the fleet prepared defensive formations, the rift behind the ship collapsed, sealing shut with a thunderous shockwave. For a moment the stars were still again. The dark vessel floated in the void like a silent omen. Then the sensors screamed. "Admiral! Massive energy surge coming from the vessel! Shields at maximum! All ships prepare for evasive maneuvers!" On the main display, the black warship's hull began to glow faint red. Vast energy veins lit up along its spine, like blood awakening after a long sleep. Massive structures extended from its sides, ancient weapon arrays, unfolding like the wings of some colossal beast. The ship was powering up. Admiral Corran's heart pounded. "It's not a ghost," he whispered. "It's waking up." All across Zorath Prime, citizens looked up at the sky, seeing the dark shape hovering above their world. No one knew what it was. No one knew who built it. But one truth echoed through every mind. The Empire had never faced anything like this before, and somewhere deep within that ancient warship, a hidden system hummed to life. A language long forgotten whispered through the void. Terran Expeditionary Command. Reactivation sequence initiated. The day the sky split was the day everything changed. The Imperial capital didn't sleep that night. Across Zorath Prime, the skies still shimmered faintly where the rift had been, like a scar that refused to fade. The mysterious warship remained in high orbit, silent, unmoving, and terrifying. Every sensor array, spy probe, and listening station in the system pointed toward it. Yet no one could understand what they were seeing. Inside the Imperial Intelligence Complex, buried beneath kilometers of armored rock, a room filled with top-ranking analysts stared at endless streams of distorted data. Monitors flickered. The strange ship radiated frequencies they couldn't fully decipher. It was like trying to understand a language that didn't want to be heard. Agent Vekran, a veteran codebreaker with grey scales and sharp eyes, leaned forward. He had seen Dominion codes, rebel transmissions, even ancient pirate ciphers, but this was different. The signal was layered, dense, almost alive. "Play it again," he ordered quietly. The speakers crackled, filling the cold chamber with static and broken bursts of sound. Then through the noise came a faint, almost human-sounding phrase. "O Terran Expeditionary Command." Reactivation complete. The room fell silent. Did it just say Terran?" whispered one of the younger analysts. Her frills flattened in fear. Vekran didn't answer. His claws tapped the console. Terran, a forbidden word, a name buried in old war legends. Humanity, if it ever existed, was said to have burned itself out long before the Zorath Empire rose to power. Their ships were myths. Their technology, ancient ghost stories used to scare cadets, yet the signal was real, and it had just echoed through the heart of the Empire. Within the hour, the Imperial High Command convened in the Grand War Hall. The Emperor's hologram hovered above the circular chamber, cold and sharp. Generals, admirals, and intelligence heads filled the room. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Admiral Corran, still shaken from the previous night, stood at attention. "Your Majesty, the unknown vessel remains stationary. No further movement detected. But the energy readings are increasing steadily. We believe it is fully active now." The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. "And the transmission?" Vekran stepped forward, clutching a datapad. "Sire, our team intercepted a repeating signal from the vessel. We isolated a clear phrase. Terran Expeditionary Command." The hall erupted in murmurs. One general scoffed. "Terran, impossible. Humans are legends," another hissed. "Or nightmares." The Emperor raised a hand, silencing them. "Explain," he demanded. Vekran swallowed hard. "The signal structure is unlike anything in our archives. It's old. Older than the Empire itself. We believe this warship may be of human origin." The silence that followed was heavy. Every officer knew the stories. How Terran war machines supposedly ended entire civilizations. How their fleets could strike without warning and vanish into the dark. The Empire had always dismissed these as myths. Until now, the Emperor's voice was icy. "This information does not leave this room. Panic would spread across the sectors like wildfire. The people must not know." "Yes, Your Majesty," they replied in unison. Far away, in the dusty corners of the Imperial Archive, an elderly historian named Zorath unlocked a forbidden wing. He had spent his life studying the old wars when humans supposedly fought the first galactic empires. His claws trembled as he pulled out a cracked data tablet. On it was a faded star map showing the spread of the Terran expeditionary fleets. The symbols on the map matched the markings seen on the mysterious ship's hull. Zorath's voice shook as he whispered, "It's true. They're back." Meanwhile, in orbit, the mysterious vessel still drifted silently. Imperial spy drones swarmed around it like insects around a sleeping beast. But the ship remained indifferent, as if waiting for something. Then, without warning, a new transmission was detected, this time directed inward, toward the planet's communication grid. It wasn't a language the Empire recognized. The signal was encrypted with technology far beyond their understanding. "It's scanning us," a technician gasped. "The ship is mapping every system, every defense network. It knows we're watching." Panic began to ripple through the intelligence center. If this really was a human warship, then it wasn't just powerful, it was aware. The Emperor held a private council with his most trusted admirals. "This cannot become a symbol," he growled. Already whispers spread through the lower sectors. "They say the gods of war have returned. Rebellions might rise. We cannot allow this vessel to inspire hope. What are your orders, Majesty?" Admiral Corran asked carefully. "Capture it," the Emperor commanded coldly. "Before anyone else learns the truth, send a full task force. Bring me that ship." The decision was made. As fleets prepared to mobilize, across the galaxy, smugglers, outlaws, and minor governments all picked up fragments of the Terran signal. Stories spread faster than Imperial sensors could stop them. A ghost ship, a Terran warship. The legends are real. In the darkness between stars, ancient fears awoke. Some saw danger, others saw opportunity, and somewhere deep within the Terran vessel, systems continued to hum quietly. Long-dormant archives unlocked themselves. The ship was listening, watching, waiting. The Empire thought it could control the story, but the whispers in the dark had already begun to spread, and nothing could stop them now. The fleet launched at dawn. On the upper decks of the Imperial flagship Zorathian, Admiral Corran stood rigid, staring at the looming shape of the Terran vessel displayed across the panoramic holoscreen. The alien warship hung in orbit like a silent predator, surrounded by flickering storms of charged particles. 20 Imperial warships formed a tight formation around Zorathion, engines burning bright, shields humming. Hundreds of fighter squadrons waited on standby, their pilots tense and alert. The Emperor's order was clear: capture the vessel at all costs. Corran's second-in-command, Captain Yura, stepped beside him. Her frills were stiff with unease. "This feels wrong, Admiral," she whispered. "That ship hasn't moved, hasn't fired. It's letting us come." Corran didn't respond. He felt it too. Every instinct screamed that they were walking into something far larger than themselves. But orders were orders. "Signal the fleet," he barked. "Formation Delta 9, no mistakes. We board, we control, we end this before panic spreads." The comm channels buzzed with acknowledgements. Fighters launched in waves, engines tearing through the thin upper atmosphere. Boarding craft moved into position, like insects swarming toward a sleeping giant. But the Terran ship wasn't sleeping. It was watching. Deep inside the alien vessel, systems stirred to life. Buried command nodes, silent for millennia, detected the incoming ships. Automated defense protocols engaged. Holographic displays lit up in ancient English. Unauthorized vessels detected, initiating contact sequence. For the first time, the ship moved. Slowly, deliberately, massive panels along its hull shifted. Antenna arrays extended, forming complex geometric shapes. Energy signatures spiked. Every Imperial sensor went into overdrive. "Admiral, the ship is powering up," a bridge officer cried. "Shields up. All ships maintain distance." Corran ordered. Then a voice, clear and cold, echoed across every Imperial frequency. It was human. "This is Terran Expeditionary Command Vessel Aegis. Identify yourselves." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the speakers as the voice repeated the message, calm and authoritative, like a ghost from forgotten wars. Captain Ura swallowed. It's speaking to us. Admiral, what do we say? Corran hesitated. Protocol dictated that they respond, but there was no protocol for this. They had trained to fight pirates, rebels, rival empires, not ancient human warships. Open channel, he said finally. Unknown vessel, this is the Zorath Imperial fleet. You are in restricted space. Power down and prepare to be boarded. The reply came almost instantly. Negative. Your vessels are approaching a Terran military asset. Turn back immediately. The voice was calm. But behind that calm, there was steel. Ura whispered, Admiral, it's warning us. Corran clenched his fists. They think they can threaten us? Fire a warning barrage. Show them who controls this system. Hundreds of plasma cannons opened fire at once. Blue-white bolts streaked through the void, slamming into the Terran ship's shields. The impact lit up the sky like a supernova. Shockwaves rippled through orbit, but when the light cleared, the vessel remained untouched. The shields hadn't even flickered. Gasps filled the Imperial flagship's bridge. Direct hits across multiple quadrants, no damage detected. A sensor officer shouted, panic rising in his voice, and then the Aegis responded. Without warning, its hull split open to reveal a vast internal structure, like the glowing heart of a sleeping god awakening. Dozens of turret arrays rotated outward in perfect synchronization. Energy levels spiked so high that Imperial scanners began to fail. Admiral, it's locking weapons. Corran froze. For the first time in decades, he felt true fear. Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. He roared. It was too late. The first volley from the Aegis was surgical. Lances of coherent energy shot across space, faster than the Imperial targeting computers could track. 3 destroyers were hit simultaneously. They didn't explode, they disintegrated. Their hulls vanished in blinding flashes, leaving only vapor and silence. Panic erupted across fleet channels. They're tearing us apart! Shields useless, those beams cut straight through. Mayday, mayday, the second volley came moments later. Imperial cruisers shattered like glass. Fighters were swept away by electromagnetic shockwaves. The fleet, proud and disciplined moments before, descended into chaos. On the flagship bridge, alarms screamed. Corran watched in horror as his formation collapsed. No, this can't be happening, he muttered. The Aegis fired again. A single beam sliced through the Zorathian starboard engines, sending the massive vessel spinning uncontrollably. Crew members were thrown to the floor. Sparks rained from broken consoles. Admiral, we're losing control! Ura shouted. Emergency retreat. Corran bellowed. All ships fall back! Fall back! Within 7 minutes, the mighty Imperial task force was broken. 15 ships destroyed, 4 crippled, hundreds of fighters lost, and the Terran vessel hadn't moved from its orbit. As the shattered remnants of the fleet limped away, the voice returned over the comms, steady and merciless. You were warned. Further aggression will not be tolerated. This is your only warning? Then the channel went dead. On the Emperor's throne world, the news hit like a thunderbolt. High Command tried to suppress the disaster, but whispers spread faster than sensors could react. Entire sectors buzzed with a single terrifying phrase. The Terrans are back. In the dark corridors of power, panic gave way to something worse, fear of losing control. The Empire had made first contact, and it had ended. In Vyah, the Imperial Senate had not known fear for centuries. But now, their grand hall, usually filled with arrogance and endless political games, was quiet. The air was thick with tension as holographic projections of the Terran vessel hung above the chamber, rotating slowly, casting long shadows across nervous faces. Reports from the shattered fleet had shaken the Empire to its core. An entire task force destroyed in minutes, ships erased as if they were made of paper, and the vessel responsible had not been identified by any database in Imperial history. Senators muttered among themselves. Generals stood stiffly in the background, avoiding eye contact. The Emperor sat on his towering throne, his gaze locked on the projection of the alien warship. Finally, High Strategist Varren broke the silence. This ship, this Aegis, it shouldn't exist, he said. His voice was low but firm. Our historians say humanity vanished 10,000 years ago. Their colonies destroyed, their fleets gone. Yet this thing is here, and it fights as if the old legends were true. A senator scoffed. Legends. Stories for children. Humanity burned themselves out. Everyone knows that. Varen's eyes narrowed. Then explain how one Terran warship annihilated 15 of our vessels without taking a scratch. No one answered. Deep beneath the Imperial archives, a forbidden door slid open for the first time in centuries. Archivist Rakel descended the ancient stairs, guided by dim light and fear. He'd been summoned by Imperial intelligence to uncover the truth behind the Aegis. The lower vaults were old, older than the Empire itself. Dust coated the stone-like walls. Holographic terminals flickered weakly, their language unreadable to most modern scholars. But Rakel had spent his life studying forgotten civilizations. He reached a sealed chamber marked only by a single symbol, the Terran eagle. His hands shook as he activated the door. With a hiss, it opened, revealing a massive chamber filled with ancient star maps, cracked data cores, and towering statues of armored humans. In the center stood a single inscription, etched into metal so hard even the Empire's tools could not scratch it. Aegis, Earth's last shield. Rakel's eyes widened. He'd seen references to Project Aegis in fragments of forgotten texts, but no one believed it was real. Meanwhile, aboard the Imperial flagship Zorathian, still undergoing emergency repairs, Admiral Karan stared at a replay of the battle for the 100th time. His pride was shattered, but something else burned in his chest now, determination. "Pause here," he ordered. The holo froze, showing the moment the Terran ship emerged from the rift. "Zoom in on the hull markings," technicians obeyed. The image sharpened, revealing faint symbols along the blackened hull, English letters partially scorched away by time. Captain Ura leaned forward. "Those markings. They're old. Pre-Imperial era?" Corran nodded slowly. "Older Terran military? I've seen similar ones in classified archives. What is that ship, Admiral?" Ura whispered. Corran exhaled. "It's not new. It's a ghost. A warship from humanity's golden age, lost, and now found. In the Emperor's palace, Rakel was rushed before the throne, clutching ancient records. His usually calm demeanor was gone. "I found it," he announced breathlessly. "The Aegis is real. It was the pride of the Terran defense fleet, Earth's final line of protection during their last great war. When humanity collapsed, the ship was lost in deep space. Records say it vanished during the fall of Orion, never to return. The court erupted in murmurs. The Emperor leaned forward. "Then how is it here?" Rakel hesitated. "I don't know. But the rift it came through, it's not natural. Some say Terrans experimented with dimensional transit during their final wars. Maybe the ship has been trapped all this time. Maybe it's been waiting." "Waiting?" a senator hissed. Rakel nodded. "For what?" "I cannot say, but it responded like it was on patrol, not lost. It warned us, then destroyed us like we were insects. At a secret military installation in the Zorath core systems, the Empire's top scientists gathered around a darkened screen. They'd intercepted encrypted bursts coming from the Terran ship after the battle. "It's transmitting something," one of them said. "Not to us, outward. Into deep space, coordinates. Unknown. But the signal pattern is old Terran military code." A chilling thought spread through the room like wildfire. What if the Aegis wasn't alone? What if the ship was calling home? Back near the rift, the Aegis floated in orbit like a silent sentinel. Inside, dormant systems began to hum. Deep in its core, a timer reached 0. Hidden transmitters activated, sending encrypted data streams far beyond the Empire's borders, across the stars. Something began to answer. The galaxy didn't know it yet. But the appearance of the Aegis was not a random event. It was the beginning of something far larger. The lost warship had awakened, and the Empire's time of dominance was about to end. The Emperor's throne room was usually a place of cold authority. But today, it burned with fury. The holographic replay of the fleet's destruction looped again above the chamber, each flash of Terran weapon fire hammering the pride of the Empire. Senators hissed. Generals argued. The Emperor sat motionless, his golden crown glinting in the dim light, as his advisors demanded vengeance. This relic humiliated us before the entire galaxy, High Strategist Varen growled. If we do nothing, our enemies will smell weakness. The Empire must respond, swiftly and brutally. Admiral Corran stood at the center, scarred and grim. He had witnessed the power of the Aegis firsthand. With respect, strategist, that ship is unlike anything we've faced. If we attack blindly again, we'll lose even more. The room fell silent. His words were dangerous, borderline treasonous. But the Emperor did not strike him down. Instead, he leaned forward, eyes sharp. Then tell me, Admiral, the Emperor said softly, how does one strike down a god? Corran hesitated. With preparation and overwhelming force, the Emperor smiled coldly. Good. Then that is what we shall give it. Deep within the Imperial shipyards of Kothar Prime, activity surged like never before. Entire fleets were mobilized. Dreadnoughts were pulled from distant sectors. Prototypes that were once too unstable for use were rushed into production. Massive plasma cannons were installed on orbital platforms. Swarms of interceptors filled the hangars. Elite strike teams were selected. Soldiers trained in zero-G combat. Armed with experimental tech, for the first time in centuries, the Empire prepared for total war. Admiral Corran oversaw the preparations from a control balcony. Captain Yura approached, her expression uneasy. They're throwing everything at this, she said. Half the fleet, 3 dreadnoughts, new weapons we barely understand. Do they really think it will work? Corran's gaze remained fixed on the massive armada taking shape below. They don't think, he muttered. They hope. And hope has killed empires before. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis, the ship drifted silently in orbit, unmoving, watching. Deep inside, automated systems monitored Imperial mobilizations. The ship was old, but its sensors were far beyond anything the Zorath Empire possessed. Tactical log. Imperial fleet activity detected. Mobilization rate accelerating. Estimated engagement in 72 hours. Priority directive, hold position, but there was something else happening. In the command core, a faint hologram flickered. A human figure dressed in an old Terran uniform. It wasn't alive. It was a ship's AI. Imperial response detected, it said to no one. Predictable. Initiating defensive protocols. Preparing countermeasure grids. Panels along the hull began to shift. Shield emitters expanded. Weapon systems powered up. The Aegis was not surprised. It was ready. Back on Zorath Prime, the Emperor made a rare appearance before the Imperial fleet. His speech was broadcast across every world, every ship, every station. Citizens of the Empire, his booming voice declared. An intruder dares to challenge our supremacy. It is old, it is dangerous, but it bleeds like any other enemy. And we will make it bleed. Crowds roared across the capital. Massive banners unfurled. The Empire framed the battle not as fear, but as destiny. This is not merely a fight, the Emperor thundered. This is the moment history will remember, the day the Empire struck back. In secret war rooms, Varen and his strategists laid out their plan. It was audacious, ruthless. They would lure the Aegis into a kill zone, an ambush site near the gravity well of Vornis 6, a dense gas giant surrounded by powerful magnetic storms. There, hundreds of ships and heavy artillery platforms would lie in wait. Once the Terran ship entered the trap, gravity and interference would limit its mobility. Then the full force of the Imperial Armada would strike from all directions. It cannot escape if the net closes fast enough, Varen explained. Even gods can drown if you drag them into deep waters. Corran studied the map silently. He knew the plan was risky, desperate even. But if it failed, the Empire would be crippled. This is it, Varen said. We end the Terran myth here and now. 2 days later, space trembled. The Imperial Armada departed in full force. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, fighters, a storm of steel and plasma, jumped toward the Vornis 6 sector. It was the largest military mobilization since the Empire's founding wars. On the Zorathians' bridge, Admiral Corran watched the stars stretch into streaks as they entered FTL. His stomach twisted. Yura stood beside him. "Sir, if this doesn't work—" "It has to," he cut her off. "Because if it doesn't, we're not fighting a ship. We're fighting the return of humanity itself." As the Imperial fleet vanished into the void, the Aegis stirred. Its AI monitored the jump signatures and projected their trajectory. Tactical log. Enemy fleet movement detected. Predictive model suggests ambush scenario. Recommendation. Allow engagement. Test response capabilities. The ancient warship slowly rotated, its engines igniting with a deep, thunderous hum that echoed through the silence of space. The Empire believed it was setting a trap, but the Aegis had fought countless wars long before the Zorath were ever born. The Empire was striking back, but they had no idea what they were truly striking. The storm clouds of Vornis 6 swirled like a living thing, violent magnetic arcs crackling across its atmosphere. Hidden among the gas giant's chaotic orbit, the Imperial Armada waited in silence. Thousands of ships held position, their dark hulls blending into the stormy backdrop. Massive dreadnoughts floated like armored beasts, their cannons primed. Smaller ships formed tight strike formations, engines burning low to avoid detection. Inside the Imperial flagship Zorathion, Admiral Corran stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Every heartbeat was heavy, every crew member was tense. Captain Yura approached, whispering, "All ships are in position." Trap set. "The storm's interference is masking our presence. If the Aegis enters the kill zone, it won't know what hit it." Corran didn't reply. He wasn't sure he believed that. The Aegis had already proven that nothing about it was predictable. Then, like a shadow gliding through the dark, the Terran warship appeared. The rift opened silently, a jagged wound in space. From it, the Aegis emerged, engines burning with a low, thunderous hum. Its blackened hull reflected the flashes of the storm, making it look alive, like some ancient creature stepping onto a battlefield it had conquered long ago. Sensor alarms chirped across the fleet. Contact confirmed. "The target has entered the kill zone." A pulse of excitement rippled through Imperial command channels. Generals barked orders. Fighter wings launched from their hangars like swarms of deadly insects. Varen's voice echoed across the Armada. "All forces, hold positions. Wait for the signal. Let it move deeper into the trap." The Aegis drifted forward, slowly, deliberately. It wasn't scanning. It wasn't maneuvering defensively. It was just moving, as if it already knew where everything was. Corran's hands tightened behind his back. "It knows," he muttered. "It's walking straight in. Because it wants to." Deep inside the Terran warship, ancient systems pulsed awake. Core command override, threat density extreme. Defensive protocol, Titan awakening. Stage 1. Hidden compartments along the ship's hull slid open, revealing colossal weapon arrays. Energy surged through conduits like veins, lighting up after centuries of slumber. At the heart of the Aegis, the ship's AI stood in the command core, a flickering hologram of a Terran officer. Multiple hostile signatures detected, the AI said calmly. Engagement probability 100%. Awakening Titan systems. Let's remind them why Terrans were feared. Deep within the ship, massive reactors roared to life. Old battle hymns stored in the databanks began to echo softly through the internal comms, like a heartbeat returning after millennia. The Titan was awakening. On the Imperial side, the signal was finally given. "Fire everything!" The trap was sprung. Hundreds of plasma batteries unleashed their fury. Dreadnought cannons fired beams powerful enough to melt moons. Swarms of torpedoes streaked through space like glowing comets. The void around Vornis 6 exploded with light. For a moment, it looked as if the Empire's overwhelming firepower might crush the lone warship. But when the light faded, the Aegis was still there. Its shields glowed like a burning sun, absorbing unimaginable energy. Not a single shot had pierced through. Then the Aegis moved. With terrifying speed, the Titan came alive. Massive thrusters ignited, and the warship surged forward, splitting the Imperial formation like a spear. Its broadside cannons rotated outward, and the counterattack began. The first volley from the Aegis vaporized 3 cruisers instantly. They didn't explode. They simply vanished into clouds of plasma. The second volley disabled the central dreadnought's engines, sending the massive ships spiraling toward the gas giant's gravity well. The third targeted the fighter swarms. A shockwave pulse emitted from the Titan's hull, disabling every fighter's electronics within a wide radius. Hundreds of ships went dark, drifting helplessly. Panic rippled through the Imperial lines. Shields collapsing. We're taking heavy fire. It's cutting through us like nothing. Corran gritted his teeth. Regroup. Surround it from all angles. We have to pin it down. But the Titan didn't allow itself to be surrounded. It moved through the battlefield like a predator, predicting every maneuver, countering every angle. Captain Ura stared at the tactical map, voice shaking. Admiral, it's not reacting. It's leading the battle. Inside the Aegis, the AI calmly adjusted firing solutions. Imperial tactics, predictable. Response efficiency, optimal. Titan-level weapons came fully online. Massive spinal cannons charged with energy bright enough to light up the stormy skies of Vornis 6. When they fired, the entire sector shook. The beam cut through the Imperial flagship's shield grid like a hot knife through silk. Half the forward fleet was obliterated in a single, breathtaking strike. Corran was thrown to the floor as the Zorathian shuddered violently. Alarms screamed, "Admiral! Hull breaches on multiple decks! Evasive maneuvers! Pull us out of the kill zone!" Corran roared, scrambling to his feet. The carefully planned Imperial ambush disintegrated within minutes. Their overwhelming force meant nothing against a warship built to fight entire civilizations. The Titan had awakened fully now, and its wrath was unstoppable. As dreadnoughts broke apart and fighters fled, the Aegis held its position in the storm, glowing like a burning star against the dark. To the Empire, this was supposed to be their moment of triumph. Instead, it became a massacre. Whispers began to spread across the fleet. It's unstoppable. It's like fighting a god. The Titan has awakened, and for the first time, even the Emperor himself felt a chill he hadn't known in centuries. The Empire had struck back, but the Titan had answered. The Imperial Palace had never been so quiet. A storm of defeat was spreading through the Empire faster than the High Command could contain it. Across the stars, whispers grew louder. The trap at Vornis 6 had failed. The Armada had been crushed, and the Terran warship now drifted unchallenged near Imperial space. On the throne, the Emperor listened as shattered reports echoed through the chamber. His generals and senators stood pale and shaken. For the first time in centuries, they weren't arguing, they were afraid. "They say the Titan burned half the fleet in less than 20 minutes, a senator whispered. "They're calling it the Ghost of Earth," another added. "Whole colonies are panicking." High Strategist Varron slammed his fist on the table. "This panic must end! One ship cannot destroy an empire, unless we let fear do the rest." But deep down, everyone in the room knew fear was already winning. Far above the capital world, the Aegis floated silently against the void. It no longer hid. Its blackened hull gleamed under the distant star, every scar a story of old wars. But now, for the first time, the ship transmitted a message. The signal spread across every Imperial channel, overriding even military frequencies. Screens across the galaxy flickered to life. The holographic image that appeared stunned billions. A human figure, dressed in ancient Terran military uniform, the hologram was clear and commanding. His eyes were sharp, his voice calm, but every word carried the weight of history. "This is Captain Elias Rourke, Terran Expeditionary Command Vessel Aegis. To the Zorath Empire, your forces have attacked a Terran military asset. Further aggression will not be tolerated. Stand down! The galaxy froze. The legends had always spoken of humanity, of their rise, their wars, their sudden disappearance, but no living being had ever heard a Terran voice. Now, they all had. In the Imperial war chamber, chaos erupted. Terrans were wiped out millennia ago. This must be an AI trick. No, look at the signal structure. It's authentic. Ancient Terran code. No one alive can fake that. Admiral Koran stood silently at the edge of the chamber, staring at the projection. He had fought this ship. He had seen its precision, its intelligence. And now he understood. This isn't just a weapon, he whispered. It's a message. The Terrans never truly left. The Aegis continued its broadcast, overriding planetary networks, military grids, even entertainment channels. Billions of beings across the Empire listened as Captain Rourke's image appeared in their cities, homes, and war rooms. Long ago, humanity vanished from your records. But we endured. We watched the galaxy from the shadows, waiting. And now you have forced our hand. We will not conquer. We will not invade. But we will defend what is ours. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Empire's age of unchecked rule ends today. Choose wisely. Stand down, or be swept aside. Across the stars, people whispered the same phrase over and over. Humanity has returned. In a hidden intelligence bunker on Zorath Prime, archivist Rakel watched the transmission with tears in his eyes. For years, he had studied humanity's forgotten history, dismissed as a dreamer by his peers. Now it was real. They survived, he breathed. All this time, they survived. An aide beside him trembled. If they've survived, what else is out there? Rakel stared at the stars on the screen. That ship isn't just a relic, it's a scout. And if the Terrans are revealing themselves now, it means they're not alone anymore. Inside the Imperial throne room, the Emperor sat rigid, eyes locked on the human hologram. His advisors shouted for retaliation, for negotiation, for surrender, but he ignored them. He understood something that many of them didn't. Empires rise and fall, but legends endure. And humanity was the greatest legend of them all. This changes everything, he muttered. Varen turned to him. Your Majesty, what are your orders? Do we mobilize? Surrender? Negotiate? The Emperor rose slowly from his throne. His voice was quiet, but every word struck like iron. We face not an enemy, but a civilization that once ended wars with their mere presence. We will not act rashly, but we will not kneel either. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis, Captain Rourke's AI image flickered in the command core. System reports scrolled rapidly around him. Incoming transmissions detected. Imperial fleets regrouping. Political networks destabilizing. Strategic objectives achieved. The AI tilted its head slightly, as if listening to something distant. Contact with command established. Human fleets responding. In the deep void, far beyond Imperial sensors, faint signals began to stir, encrypted. In coordinated Terran across the galaxy, the truth was now undeniable. The mysterious warship was not a fluke. It was a herald. The Empire had tried to crush a ghost. But instead, they had awakened humanity itself. And humanity was answering the call. The night sky above Zorath Prime burned like a dying star. Where once the Imperial defense grid shone bright and impenetrable, now only broken lights and drifting debris remained. The proud fleets of the Zorath Empire had been shattered, their formations scattered like ash in the void. And at the center of it all, looming like a silent executioner, was the Terran warship Aegis. Its black hull was marked by ancient scars, yet it stood untouched by the Empire's might. Every sensor on the planet locked onto it. Every terrified citizen looked up at the sky, because that was the night the galaxy realized. The Empire was no longer in control. Inside the Imperial Palace, chaos ruled. Generals screamed over each other, senators argued, and panicked aides ran through marble corridors with half-burned data pads. The Emperor sat on his throne, pale and silent, watching the feed from orbit. The Imperial Grand Fleet, the pride of their civilization, was gone. 800 warships reduced to drifting wrecks in under 2 hours. How is this possible? Whispered Senator Corran. No single vessel can do this. High Strategist Varen slammed the table. It's not just a ship, it's a Terran war engine. Every maneuver, every strike. It's like they predicted us before we acted. They're fighting a war they've already won. And deep down, they all knew he was right. In orbit, the Aegis unleashed the next phase. It didn't attack cities or civilians. Instead, precise strikes targeted military outposts, communication hubs, and command ships. Each blast was clean, surgical, paralyzing the Empire's ability to coordinate. Within minutes, the mighty Imperial military network fractured like glass. Fleets lost contact with Central Command. Colonies received no orders. Panic spread faster than the Aegis could fire. For the first time in its long, merciless history, the Empire was blind. Then the message came. Every screen, every comlink, every beacon across Imperial space flickered to life. The same Terran hologram appeared once more. Captain Elias Rourke, calm and cold. This is your final warning. The Terran Federation does not seek conquest. But your aggression against Terran assets cannot go unanswered. Lay down your arms. Surrender control of your fleets. This empire has reached its end. The words echoed across 1,000 worlds. For many Imperial citizens, this was the first time they'd ever heard someone dare to speak against the throne, and they listened. Rebellion ignited like wildfire. Border colonies long oppressed by the empires. Heavy taxes declared independence overnight. Slave worlds shut down their overseer systems and broadcast messages of freedom. Even within the Imperial military, officers began defecting, unwilling to die for a collapsing regime across the stars. The Empire's massive structure fractured from within. Faster than any weapon could destroy it, the Aegis didn't need to conquer. It simply pushed, and the Empire collapsed under its own weight. On Zorath Prime, the Emperor made one final gamble. Deep beneath the palace, a chamber long sealed since the early conquests was opened. Inside sat the Imperial Doomsday Array, an ancient superweapon capable of burning entire star systems. This is madness, Varen shouted. You'll destroy us all! The Emperor's eyes burned with desperation. Better oblivion than submission. The weapon began charging, energy readings spiking through the palace. But before it could complete the sequence, the chamber trembled. A beam of blinding white light punched through the crust of the planet. Aegis had found them. Within seconds, the weapon was reduced to molten slag. The Emperor fell to his knees, the throne room shaking around him. It was over. In the sky, a new fleet emerged from hyperspace. But this time they weren't Zorath ships, Terran vessels. Dozens, then hundreds. Sleek, powerful, and utterly alien to modern eyes. They arrived in perfect formation, surrounding Zorath Prime like silent watchers. The Aegis drifted forward to meet them, like a king returning to his court. The Terran Federation had officially arrived. Across the galaxy, billions watched the broadcast in stunned silence. For millennia, humanity had been nothing but a legend. Now they were reality. And the old Galactic order was finished. Inside the Imperial Palace, guards laid down their weapons one by one. Generals surrendered. Senators wept. The Emperor stood alone at the balcony, watching the Terran fleet take position above his world. History will not remember us kindly, he whispered. High Strategist Varen stepped forward, defeated. History will remember that the sky split open, and the Empire fell. On the bridge of the Aegis, Captain Rourke's hologram flickered once more, now surrounded by live Terran officers. Phase 1 complete, a commander reported. Imperial resistance has collapsed. Reconstruction protocols ready. Rourke looked at the image of Zorath Prime on the view screen, once the heart of a mighty empire, now a broken shadow of itself. Then let's begin, he said softly. The galaxy has forgotten who we are. It's time they remembered. The Terran fleet moved as one, and across the stars a new age began.